I'm going to read The Prince and the Pauper, chapter 17. Interesting title, Foo Foo the First. So, there you go. Miles had hurried along toward the southward end of the bridge, keeping a sharp lookout for the person he saw and hoping and expecting to overtake them presently. He was disappointed in this, however. By asking questions, he was unable to track them part of the way through the southward. Northwest seas, and he was perplexed as to how to proceed. They continued his efforts. At best he could during the rest of the day. Night first found him, the yourist half famished, and his desires far from the accomplishment as ever. So he served at the Tower Inn and went to bed, resolved to make an early start in the morning and give the towns an exhaustive search. As he lay thinking and planning, he presently just began to reason her thus. The boy would escape from the ruffian. He refused his father. If possible, should he go back to London and seek his promised haunts? No, he would not do that. He would avoid the capture. What then would he do? Never having had a friend in the world, or a protector until he met Morris Hendon, he would naturally try to find his friend again, for by effort did not require him to go toward London and danger. He would strike for Hendon, or that is what he would do, for he knew that Hendon was homeward bound, and there he might expect to find him. Yeah, the case was plain to Hendon. He must lose no more time in southward. The move advanced through Kent towards the monk's home, searching the wood and inquiring as they went. Let us return to the banished little king now. The ruffian homes and the weather-stead inns on the British shore about to join the youth and the king did not exactly join them, but fell in close behind them to follow their steps. He said nothing. His left arm was in a sling, and he wore a large green patch over his left eye. He limped slightly and used an oaken step as a support. The youth led the king's course through southward and by struck into the high road beyond. The king was irritated now and said as he was stopped here. It was Helen's priest come to him. Let us go to Hendon's. He would not endure such insolence. He would stop where he was. The youth said, so thoroughly here stand the friend lying wounded, and I would yonder so to beat. Then the king's manner changed at once. He cried out, wounded? And we had half dared out to do it. But that is a bird. We runs, and faster saucers. Sure, will I read, and so wounded is he. Now doors, for it to be a duke's son, he shall do it. It was some distance to the wood, but the space was speedily traversed. The youth looked upon him, discovered a bow, and sticking in the ground with a small bit of leg tied to it, then led the way into the forest, watching for seamless bow, and then finding them at intervals. They were even into the sky, and to the point he was aiming at. By and by, an open place was reached, over the charred remains of the farmhouse, and near them a mound which was falling to ruin and decay. There was no sign of life anywhere. Utter silence prevailed. The youth entered a barn. The king following eagerly stopped on his heels. No one there. The king shot a surprised and suspicious glance at the youth and asked, where is he? Mocking over this answer, the king was in a rage in a moment. He seized a bit of wood and was in the act of charging upon the youth, and another mocking laugh fell upon his ears. It was from the rain ruffians who had been following at a distance. The king turned and said angrily, who are there? What is the business here? Leave the folly, said the man, and quiet this out. My disguise is not so good that those I can't pretend those and knows not the father through it. Gerard, not my father's, I know, the note. I'm the king. If those hasn't heed my servants find him for me, and those short so for what those hasn't done. John can't replied in a stern and measured voice. It's plain, thou art mad. I'm loath to punish thee, but if thou provoke me, I must. The threatening those to no harm here, whether no years, then it is mine, and the forest, yeah, it is well to practice the tongue to wear speech, that it may no harm. That when our corpus change, I have done on murder. And this may not terrorist at homes, neither still short or door. Think I need this service, my name is changed, this full wise religions, it is the Hobbes and John Hobbes, Flames, Jack Charles, a memory of things now. Then speak to where is the mother? Ah, where are the sisters? They came out to the place appointed noiseless those whither they went. The king answered sternly, learn me not to read these letters. My mother is dead, my sisters are in the palace. The youth nearby burst into the leader laugh, and the king would have assaulted him, but can't help hopes, and he now called himself to prevent him and said, Peace, Hugh, vex him not. His mind is as free, and the ways to threat him. Sit it down, Jack, and quietly said, although sure, have the morsels to eat, Hannah. Hard and true, and felt talking together in a low voice, and the king moved himself as far as he could bump their discoverable company. He drew into the twilight out the father and of the van where he found often the floor batters of deep with the stores that he lay down here and drew straw and over himself in a rear of the blanket and was soon absorbed in thinking. So he had many griefs, but minor ones were swept almost into forgetfulness by the Supreme One, the loss of his father to the rest of the world. The name of Henry VIII brought a shiver and then suggested an ogre whose nostrils breathed destruction, whose hand dealt scourging and death, but not to this voice the names brought and the only sensations of pleasure and spirit involved were countenance. That was all gentleness and affection. He could mine a long succession of loving passed between his father and himself, and was fondly upon them. His son's time to the tears and attesting how deep and lures the grief and possesses her as the afternoons waste away. The rather wearied at the trouble sank gradually into a tranquil and healing slumber. After control of time, he could not tell how long his senses struggled to have the conscious as he lay with closed eyes, vaguely wondering where he was and what had been happening. Noticed the murmurs down, the sullen speakings on lane up on the roof, a snug sense of comfort stores over him, which was immediately broken the next moment by a score of popping cackles, and coarse laughter startled him disagreeably, and he unmuffled his head to seize whence this interruption proceeded. The grim and unsolid face the features met his eyes. A bright fire was burning in the middle of the floors at the other end of the van. Around it, and it lit to wither stopped by the red glare, lowland spurred and motorist company of tattered gutter-scum ruffians, both sexes he had ever led or dreamed of. There were a huge stalwart man and brown with exposure, long-haired and clothed in fantastic legs. There were middle-sized youths, a truculent countenance, and similar haired and swerve-eyed current, with patches of bandaged eyes, crippled ones, lunar necks, and then crutches the diseased ones, and with running swords, peeping stormy patrols to laughing. There were the villain-looking fellows with his bag and knives and tinkers and barber surgeon, waiting for marches of their trade. Some of the females were hardly grown girls, who had thin, crimes and were all, and then linked hex and all, or loud ragings to fall and harvest, and also and the slaughters that were 3 stores spaced babies. There were a couple of stabbings that occurred, and with stirring and spraying stuff up on their neck, and whose office was the leader and the blind. When night was comes, the gang had just finished the feast. Earliest was the beginning. The can of licorice was passing from mouth to mouth, such gently cry reports. And songs from the back, and then deep and dot and gone. So one of the right men got up, made arrest by casting aside the fascist, the shortest his excellent eyes, and the pathetic placard which recited the cause of his calamity. Die and go on. This humbled himself on his timber leg, and then took his place upon sound and the half limbs beside this fellow rascal. Then they rolled out rolling kicks, ditty, and the words lampused by the whole crew. At the end of which standard in a loading course. By the time the last time I would reach it, the half drunken enthusiasm had risen such a pitch, and everybody joining and saying prayers through from the beginning, supporting a volume of Lennius to sound, and made his little practice quake. These were the inspiring words. Bien dark man's the then bounce more can. The Vien's called the beings of art, and on tracelet to trim the violon's curves danced for its long lived, a last vine is out. A being more and tortures to bring out of the long beer screen, and torture pour the coal, and then call your bird up on the chase and try and ponder the English logos London 1665. Conversation followed, not in this dialect end of the song, and for that was only used introduction when unfriendly ears might be listening in the course of it. It appeared that John's hope and was not altogether some new recruits, but had trained and again at some former time, as the related story was called for. And when he had said he had accidentally killed a man, considerable satisfaction was expressed. When he added the man was a priest, he was loudly applauded and had to take her drink. With everybody, all the contents welcomed him joyously, and new ones were about to shake him by hand, and he was asked why he had tarried the waste of many months. He answered, London is better than the country, and safer. These later years and the rules be so vigorous and so diligently enforced, and I have not had that accent. I stayed there. I resolved to say, I never was the most adventurous country the world, and but the ancient accident had ended that. He inquired how many persons the gang's number down, and the roofer and the chief answered, 520, 30, birds, birds, and pies, and clapperdoiders, and the motorists counting theirs, and so she started merged. We started here, the rest starts wandering eastward along the winter relays that follow at dawn. I do not see when among the honest folk about me, maybe he may he be. Fool that. His diet is brimstone now, and always hot for a delicate taste. He was killed in war some years about midsummer. I thought to hear that. The one was a careful man and brave. That was tourist black bass, and his tails and his opposite. But actions on the east were trying to apply rationalized ways of the over's conduct. None of things had drunk about 4 days in the 7. She was ever strict. I remember it well, and Guri and Wenches and Wolves, and then all his combinations. Her mother was more free. That's what was troublesome, and ugly tempers the burden, furnished with wit above the common. Lost through it, her gift of the promised and all the sort of the fortune and traveling because for her allows the wishes name and fame. The low lost resort to that the slow fire. They touch me too or sort of tenderness to see at the gallant ways and met her laughed cursing to revolving the old crowd and that gate and gazed around her. While the flames licked upward and tore her face and cast her thin locks and cracked about old grays to have a cursing them. Why on earth shouldn't live 1,000 years? There was never hear so masterful cursing like, or I died with her. There be base and the weaklings here, imitations left but to breastplate. On the plus side, the listeners sighed in sympathy. A general depression fell off from the companies for a moment, for even hardened cases like these are not wholly their sentiment, but are able to feel the fleeting sense of loss and affliction at wide intervals, and under particularly favoring circumstances, as in cases like this, for instance, when genius can catch part of living air, and have a deep drink all round soon, and restore the spirit of the mourners. Have any other style friends fared heartily? Asked Hobbes. Some, yes, particularly new, homes such as small husbandmen, turned shifters and hungry often, all because their farms were taken from them to be changed to sheep ranches. They begged and were whipped at the crosstails, naked from the girdle up until the blood ran. Then, in the shops, to be parted, they begged again, and it was whipping again, and then dried over the ear. They begged us, sir, and time for the devils the last country they drew, and that were brandished on the street with a lot of hot iron, and so slaved. The animals were hunched down and hanged. Rest of whip tag, quickly told and arched words, and have a parlous, hardly sent person, your bones and food, and show yourself on months. They stood up and stripped away some of their rags, exposing their backs. It's close to this roughest old wells left for lashing. On turn out, he says, then showed as the place where us left ears had once been. Another shoulder ran upon his shoulder left be. And much like ears, the third said, I'm Yakov, once a farmer and prosperous, with loving wife and kids. Now am I so much different estate, and calling in the wife and kids are gone. Mayhap they are in heavens, mayhap in the other place, but kindly God be thanked. They buy no more in England. My good old reign is the mother's for to earn bread by nursing to sick. One of these died, the doctors knew not how, so my mother's was burnt. The four witches was my babies look on, and the wailing should low up. Oh, for yours cups. Now together with the church, drink too much for the English law, and delivered hers from the English hell. Thank you much, and on ours, I begged from house to house, and the wives bearing with us the hungry kids, and it was crime to be hungry, and grand so they stripped us and lashed us, and threw 3 times drinks the hour again. The harsh English laws voice lashing drank deep on my marries. A blow, and its breast's deliverance came quick. So lies there in the porter's field, set from our arms, and the kid was wise the Lord and lashed me from town to town. They stopped, drink right on a drop of drop, and then the full kid. Then never did any treacherous harm. I begged again, begged for first, not to stock the lost, but easily. He abided the stump. I begged again. Here is a stump of others to keep me reminded of it, and first I begged again, and was sold. Before left tears on my cheeks, and I saying, if I washed off, yeah, my sister lad as branding irons left here, slave. Do you understand that word? An English slave, and that is the sentence before it. I have learned from my masters when I am found is the heavy torso of him of the land, and that has commanded it shall hang. Our living voice came through the murky airs, and adults showed nothing, and this is the end of that low is come. Oh, turn! And through the fantastic figures of letter kings approaches hurriedly, as emerged into light, and was clear to reveal a general explosion of inquiries broke out. Who is it? What is it? Father Mincan. The voice stood and confused in the midst of the surprised and the questioning eyes, and answered with his princely dignity, Ahmed was king of England. A wild burst of laughter followed thoughtfully of the legion and popularist of delight in the excellence of the joke. The king was stunned, he said sharply. Manners, Baron, in this your recognition of loyal boon, I have promised, except the most with an angry voice and sight just as but it was lost this in a was the wind of laughter and the mocking exclamation John of made several attempts to make himself heard above them, at last succeeded saying his mate, "It's my son, a dreamer's a fool." And struck the madman and steamed that he thinks he is the king. "I'm the king," said Edwards, turning toward him. "I lost your sword and the cursed, and in good times the hasn't confessed the murder, so shall swing for it. George betray me. George, I get my hands up on the truth." And the bully and the loafer interforging in times to save the king's position disturbed by knocking Hobbes down with peace. Whilst the spectacle neither kings nor the loafers, on those insist my presence again, I hang the myself then his Archie's majesty almost make no threat against the mate, let end those the must guard. The tongue pumps any evil of them, otherwise to be king, if it please the mad humor and harboring it, sing and the harshest and those and has I heard the treasons that are of various men and servants and few profiting myself. But none among us the survey said to be traitors to his kings. We be loving a loyal hearts, and regard not if I speak truth, now altogether so long live Edward the King of England. Long live Edward the King of England. The Spanish came with such a thunder burst. I told the Maltese crew that the crazy breathing vibrated to sound. The little king's face lighted with pleasure. For an instant, he slightly inclined his head and said you gave him sympathy. "I thank you, my good people." These unexpected letters threw the company into its convulsive merriment, when something like the quiet was presently come again. The loafer said firmly, but with an accent of good nature, "Drop it, boys, 'tis not wise, no well. Humor that punch. You must but choose some other title." Tinker shrieked out suggestion. "Foo Foo the First, King of the Moon Calves." Foo Foo the First. The title too, at once that every throat responded, and rolling shouts went up of "Long live Foo Foo the First, King of the Moon Calves." Moon Calves. Followed by hootings, the cat called and fierce of laughter. Let him purr and crown him, let him scepter, throw him, robe, set, throne. On these then 20 others cries broke out at once, and almost before the full ritual became good, lower the breast he was crowned with a thin passion. Over the tattered rank the thrones up on a barrel, and the sappers to the stinkers the soldier side on, and all throngs themselves up on their knees, while him stand up on a chorus of ardent swearing and mocking supplications, whilst they swallowed their eyes to with their sword, and then ragged his wrist and affluence. Biggest dress, O sweeting, Corporates upon thee, beseech once the noble majesty, pity thee, slaves comfort them with his loyal keep. Sure as one must with its congratulations on climbing stone of sovereignty, sanity, the ground with its torture of the part, and to make dirt, and then be in order to join to see. Speak upon us, the Messiah, that our children's children, made her of the princely condescend, and to be proud and happy forever. But the humorous thinkers, the maddest heat of the evening sky, up to him honors the kneeling. He pretended to kiss the king, food, and was just indignant to respond this, whereupon he went about begging for a leg to paste over rest upon his waist, which had been touched by the foot. Zane must be preserved from contact with the burglar. He should make fortune by going on the highway and exporting it to view at the later of 100 shillings of sight. He made himself so killingly pointing towards the envy and admiration of the whole many level. Tears of shame and indignation strewed in a little monarchized thought, and his heart was for them a deep long. They could not be more secure yet, had prepared noticed but to do them kindness, and it thus they use me for it. The end. So I changed the title Foo Foo the First, King of the Moon Calves. King of the Moon Calves, right?